Hi and welcome to another video in the Creating Sample Sets for Grand Org series. In this video I will experiment with the XY setup and pretty close miking of the pipes for sampling. This is, as you will see, pretty difficult to get a good balance with, because either you will have gain certain qualities by the placement, and you will have some disadvantages because of that too. So in the first version here you'll see that I have the mics at approximately the mouth level of the pipes, and we have actually pretty good here comes the noise again, so you will hear mostly that and not my talking so much probably. You will hear that the sound changes when I change the distance to the pipes. It will change quite dramatically when I alter the distance, and also when I alter the level at which I point the microphones, it will change quite drastically. So this is first version where I point basically at the mouths, so it sounds like this then. And if I alter the distance, you will hear of course that it gets quite loud, and if I back it up it will change with the distance. So when I do this and get pretty close to the pipes in this region of the mouth, I get very a big boost, kind of, where the pipes are the closest to the microphone. The level of them will raise pretty sharply in that region. What I gain is very exact positioning of the sound from the pipes, because I have almost mostly at least the direct sound coming to the microphones. Even the furthest one away will have mostly direct sound as opposed to the reflected, but we will have this dramatic increase around where the pipes are the closest. So one way would of course be to deal with that in post-production, to reduce, kind of voice out that that raise of level. But it could create problems also, because it might not really do the trick. You will have to experiment and see for yourself. So another approach would be I will change the angle of the microphones so that they are basically pointing down, and we will examine what happens if we kind of move the microphones up above the pipes instead and mic down towards it. This has some advantages and some disadvantages, so perhaps you will see for yourself best. I will try to change this setup. It might create some noise for you. You will have to live with that. So I will point them downwards instead, which will make it pretty wrong at the moment, of course. And we'll try to re-establish that 90-degree angle. And we'll have to alter the position of the microphone slightly. So basically something like that should more or less do the trick, I think. And what we'll do now is to put again this pipe noises back, and I will move the microphones up and closer in to the pipes. So try to get in the middle, kind of, but you hear that the effect changes quite dramatically only with small adjustments of positioning. So what happens here is that basically we even out the distance between the pipes and the microphones, but they are actually at a greater distance to the sound source, even if we take into account that most of the sound will now come from the top of the pipes, which will decrease the amount of chiff and kind of the attacks that happens mostly in the mouth region. So it will even out and make the sound less articulate, perhaps is the right word to describe it. So, and also what happens is that the directional information is kind of not that precise anymore. So we have a left pipe here, a middle, and the right. And I can see that the levels are not as dramatic in their changes as earlier. So we can make one experiment more, and that is to bring the microphones back down to the mouth level, but we will actually move away a little bit more, and change the angle from the classical 90 degrees to actually be tilted more towards one another, which will kind of decrease the recording angle to compensate for that we are actually moving away from the sound source also at the same time, and see if we can get the directional kind of information we want and have a more kind of even, not so pronounced level increase around exactly closest to the microphone. It will likely be there anyway, this increase. But perhaps, maybe, we'll find compromise. So I will change the microphones again. Sorry for the sound, but if you're not interested in this kind of experiments, you should probably watch some other videos instead. So I'll back up a little bit to have room to maneuver. So what I will do now is to point. I will alter the balance also, balance weight up here. So I will alter the direction to point more forwards again, and this will require changing positions a bit. But on the other hand, we should have them kind of more turned towards each other to reduce the angle, stereophonic recording angle. So this is not the classical 90 degrees setup anymore. I will take an angle measurement tool and see what we actually have at this point. So that's about 100 and actually about 120. Let's see if we can make it. Yes, it is approximately 120 degrees now, not 90 between the microphones. So what happens if we put these noises on again and we try to find a spot to get a decent sound from? Okay, here we can hear that something happens. It's actually better defined out here. And then again, if we come closer here, we again has a better just for fun, I will check what distance we are at. So I turn off this again. I will check what distance now we have here happening. So it is about 20 centimeters. we do some math, that will be around, well, we can check it exactly here with the calculator. We take the inverse tan, oh, I have to, like so, inverse tan, and we have now 60 is the width, half of it, divided by 20. That is approximately 72 degrees recording angle. And if we look here, 72 degrees. Yeah, that's pretty exactly the 120 degree in between the microphones, so they are actually pointing more towards each other. And at this angle we achieve basically the whole spread appropriately, or yeah, well, but you could hear that the sound changed, and that if I backed out a little, then something cancelled out. If I got even further away, then it came back more. So these are things you really go crazy when you start experimenting with this, because it is most likely impossible to find optimum placement for everything, because they vary so much. The compromise that gives a suitable level for most of the parameters will be the one probably you want to choose. Again, your ears will be better than the theory. So if we now would check the position information that we get from this. So we have a left, a middle, and a top, right. So again, we can see that there is this kind of increase right around where the pipes are, which means that we are in their the direct sound there is pretty high, and it will be less at the edges. But this actually kind of works in this setup, in this particular setup I should say, because it won't work exactly like this somewhere else. So perhaps we should do like this and check what happens if we turn up both of these channels I have now, the AB and the XY, and see what happens. And also we should kind of level them out somewhat to achieve basically the same information. And for that we will use a middle pipe that will likely be among the strongest. Let's say somewhere around there. you say? So the together sound of this now is very crowded, let's say. So we have the closest rank to the left, in the middle, to the right, and the lowest rank. Oh, we are actually having some distortions happening here. So this is a bit, the level is too high for the conversion from my recorder to the audio interface. As I'm recording in 32-bit float with this, it wouldn't be a problem even if it clipped, but now it clips because we are summing the two microphone pairs. In themselves, they are pretty good in their balance actually, and you can hear how the sound changes when I move around here. So why not test with something like this? Ideally, if I were recording in a church instead, so I would place yet another pair with this microphone or recording setup that I have nowadays. I would place another pair in between these, but you of course have to scale up all this and imagine what it would be if we had a great organ instead, and we had maybe these room mics a little bit further away, and then we would have a pair in between here for yet another kind of image. And then perhaps I would choose to move the XY higher up and lose a little bit of the directional information. But for this particular organ and space available, I think this could be perhaps quite interesting to experiment with. So anyway, thanks for watching and hope you got something out of this. See you in the next video. Bye.